In this video, I will add some extra information regarding activities and how to add them to the website, and I will focus specifically on the quiz functionality because that's a little bit more complex perhaps. So once again, just paste the URL of the web page into the browser and I will log in using the same information. And I will go to my particular course area. We added a test chat room before, but of course before I can add anything else, remember to always turn on the Turn Editing On button. Just click on it, which changes the view somewhat, and let's suppose I want to add another activity to the week of the 15th of February to the 21st of February. Again, the screen pops up with all the different activities that I can choose from, but briefly I want to also focus on resources before I get into the quiz activity, which is right here. You can imagine that just simply adding information to the website is also a useful functionality. So if you wanted to add, let's say, a link to a web page, you could select the URL here and by clicking on the radio button here. Again, you get the description that I'm highlighting right now, and you can actually use a web link as a course resource, which is what we could do, or we could create our own web page within this page, so to speak, where we can add anything from text to sound to video to whatever else you might want to add for that particular resource. Just remember that the difference between activities and resources is simply that resources provide the information that pupils may need to review. Activities is actually much more of a guided process of either practicing a particular language skill or communicating with other students or something along those lines, whereas resources are much more static. So let's suppose I just want to add a URL now, which is what I will do. I'll click on Add, and it asks me, well, what name do I want to give the URL, and then I will just call it test URL, and I could even give it a description if I wanted to. There is no need to do so. Remember, if you're not quite sure about what this particular functionality is, always just simply click on the help icon that is that I'm highlighting right now, and then of course don't forget to add your URL, which could be something like http:// how about we just copy the link to this website in? I mean, it's only for the sake of just showing you what will happen. Then there's a number of parameters, so how do I want it to display, etc., that you could change if you wanted to, but generally just leave things as they are and click on Save and Return to Course. Which takes me back to the previous page. Oh, I should have added a description. Apologies. Right. As you can see, it has in fact added, whoops, scrolling too fast, a test URL to the block that I that I'm in right now, the 15th to the 21st of February. So if I click on that, it displays precisely that, the test URL, the description that I gave it, together with the link, which opens in the same screen. Right, so click on it here, and it takes me there, which is in fact the page that we were at to begin with. So that's how to add a URL to particular useful information. As you can see, once I've navigated away from this page and I come back onto it, the turn editing on button is switched off. So you'll have to turn that back on to add new bits of information. So let me just briefly outline what creating a quiz involves. Because a quiz always consists of questions, we will first need to, I will first show you how to create some questions using this system, and then following that I will show you how to incorporate those questions into a quiz. Of course, first we'll click on Turn Editing On again. And that's done, and then I'll scroll down to and have a good look at the right hand column here. All the way down I can see Settings. Under Settings there is in fact a link called Question Bank. Now if I click on it, it collapses into questions, categories, and I can even import and export the questions if I want to. But let's just have a look at questions for now. So I'll click on questions. As you can see, 2 questions have already been added. Clicking on the Create a New Question button in the middle of the page takes me to a new pop-up screen, which allows me to choose from the type of question that I want to ask my pupils. So is it a calculated question, or is it an embedded answers question where I would have a piece of text with gaps in it? Is it an essay question or a matching question, multiple choice, etc.? I will choose to go for a multiple choice question for now. Having chosen it by clicking on the radio button, I now choose Next, which takes me to a new screen, and I'll give the question name a name. Well, I'll just add a silly example. How old are you? And if I wanted my no, perhaps that's not such a good question to ask here. Well, I'll leave it standing. Then, apart from the name, I'll also need to add some question text, which is actually the question itself. Right? The question name is just a tag to by which to identify that particular question. The text itself is the question itself. So let's just add something there now. Let's just think of something like this. Amsterdam is the capital of which country? Right. Then I can give the question a default mark, which is 1 point if someone gets it right, and of course 0 points if someone gets it wrong. Then I could add something in general feedback. There's no need to do that, because I'll just scroll down and make sure that this is selected. If you have a single answer being correct only, this is the one to go for. Do you want the choices to be shuffled? Do you want to number the choices, etc.? So choice 1, remember the question was Amsterdam is the capital of, well, let's just say France here. And then I have to say, is that answer correct, yes or no? It is not. So I will leave it standing at none. If someone gets it wrong and actually answers, provides this answer, do I want the child to have feedback on that? If I do, then you could add feedback here. We'll have a good look at your atlas again, perhaps. Option 2, the second answer option would be perhaps Germany, and perhaps I could copy the same feedback into that second wrong choice as well, which is here. Again, the grade should be none here because it is in fact the wrong answer. And now I will enter the right answer, which is the Netherlands. And of course for this one I will need to set it for 100% because that is the only right answer. And if I want to provide feedback there, I say well done. Oops. Well, I could go on to add more choices, but I will leave it for now. So I'll just have to scroll down to the bottom and click on Save Changes. So I've now added a single multiple choice question to the. And remember, I gave it the question name, how old are you? I now realize, oh, that's not the right label to have given it because in fact I cannot identify the content of the question by this question name. I could then go back and change the question by clicking on the hand once again and by changing the question name. So perhaps I'll call it Amsterdam. And I will go down right to the bottom of the page and click on Save Changes again. As you can see, it is now in fact labeled as Amsterdam. Now, let's go back to our course room, which is in this case ST2. And now I actually want to add a quiz to the web page under the 15th to the 21st of February. Now I could simply do that by clicking on quiz here. Please do read the description here to make sure that that you've understood what this is. And click on add, which takes me to this following screen. And I will just name this quiz a short quiz. And add a little bit of an introduction. Please answer all questions and redo the ones you get wrong, or whatever other introduction or text you would want to add there. Then I can set a whole number of parameters relating to when do I want the quiz to open and close. By default it will always be open and accessible. Do I want, for as far as the grades go that follow from this, do I want them to be categorized? By default I would say just leave it as it is. But if you're curious as to what does what, then by all means click on the question marks here to receive some explanation. Scrolling all the way down, and I think all of it's okay. I don't want to provide any extra feedback, and I click on Save and Display. And as you can see, the description of this short quiz is right there that I'm highlighting. And it says no questions have been added yet, which is precisely what has been missing. So I'll go back into Edit Quiz to add those questions, which takes me to this screen. And as you saw in the question bank before, I added this Amsterdam question myself, and there were already 2 questions in there beforehand as well. So I could select each of these questions and click on the button Add to Quiz. As you can now see, there's a question per page in the quiz consisting of 3 questions. So now I've added the questions to the quiz and things seem to be in order. I could change the order of the questions by simply clicking on the arrow. So if I wanted to move this question up, I click on the up arrow, and as you can see, it's moved up a step onto the same page as the Amsterdam question. So let's just create a single page quiz by just clicking on the up arrow twice here, and here we are. So as you can see, there's 2 empty pages, so I'll just click them away. And now I have a single page quiz. And I finally click on Save. And I go back to my home page. And as you can now see, there is in fact a short quiz available. I turn editing off, and the way that pupils will now see this text is very similar to this. So I click on the link, and I click on Preview, and as you can see, there's a single page here with 3 questions on it. And I could select, let's just choose a wrong answer here, and the capital of this, and the capital of the Netherlands. Oh, the question was already asked before. So, capital of the Netherlands, let's just do that, and then I'll click on Next to see how I did. And of course, this is what comes out. For students, this will look different because their question will be marked and they will receive a grade. For you as a teacher, this preview is just simply to see if it worked, yes or no. Click on Submit All and Finish to submit my answers as if I were a student, and now I in fact get the feedback that I was looking for. And I did actually get the first one wrong, and it gives me feedback, which is useful, etc. So that's how you create questions followed by creating a quiz. I'm sorry about the fact that this is a very long video, but I hope you get the idea. So I'll now log out again, and that's the end of this instruction.